Hi there, good afternoon. So today is February 28th. Hard to believe that February is gone. It is currently 96 degrees Fahrenheit, that is 35 degrees Celsius. Very, very hot. I'm looking forward to jumping into that water there very soon, but I'm going to get started hiking up and over this hill here to the next beach. So this is Kudli Beach. I'm hiking to Om Beach. The little village of Gokarna is straight back there, about a mile or so. The last video that I posted of the festival in the town was filmed in the town of Gokarna there. I stayed for 4 days in the actual town there and then moved out here to the beach, and I'm staying at a place right over there. So I've been here for like another 4 days and I'm staying another few days more. I'm not sure exactly, but as I mentioned in a previous video, I'm kind of taking a break, a little bit of a break from YouTube and social media and stuff like that, but not entirely. But the main reason that I wanted to take this break was to write a book. So I mentioned that I wanted to read a book in that other video. That never happened, never opened it up. But I did what I hoped and planned and intended to do here, which is I finished writing that book. And so this video is going to be telling part of the story of that book, just the beginning of it, to give you a little taste of what it's about. And then if you want to hear the rest of the story, then you can buy the book. So I'm going to be making an offer here for now. Before I actually get around to publishing it, I will plan to publish it on Amazon.com, self-publishing sometime in the coming weeks or whatever. But until then I wanted to make it available, and so I'm going to be making the offer that I've done previously in the past, which is a donation basis offer of using PayPal or Patreon. Then you can pay whatever you like, and then you'll get not just this book, but my 4 other ebooks that I have written myself, and which are also available on Amazon.com, that I will be sending PDFs. So 5 books as separate PDF files that I will email to you if you send a PayPal donation or support me on Patreon. Just make that donation, and then I will see your donation, I will see your email address, and then I will email you the ebooks right away. My email address is going to be in the description below. If for some reason you don't get your ebooks soon, then go ahead and email me at the same email address, and I will make sure and get them to you. Okay, let's get up the hill a little bit here. And so, getting to the subject of this video, the craziest story of my life, a wilderness adventure. Some of you will already know this story, which, as I think back on it, then if I had to choose the craziest story of my life, I really think that this would be the one. So I made a movie called Broken Down, my true story of getting lost in the wilderness. Woo! Woo! Holy crap, that is cool! The getting lost part is a rather minor as far as the length of time in the video. It is a very short section of that 70-minute movie that I made back in 2016, just a little while after this occurred in September of 2016 in the Marble Mountains of Northern California. I finished the book a lot quicker than I expected, and then realized that it really wasn't long enough to be a book, as it was. But I had written this other story about the last time that I went backpacking in the wilderness of the same place. I'd already written that story, and I realized that it worked perfectly as a part 2 to this part 1, being in the same location and with a very similar start to the adventure of a vehicle breaking down. So I will leave that a bit of a mystery as far as the second one goes. But I'm going to tell the story now of the first part of this book and what happened. So, late summer of 2016, I fly back from Europe, visit my brother who has offered to give me a truck, 20-year-old Mazda pickup truck that he no longer needs because him and his wife have bought a new vehicle. And so I fly into Oregon, head out there and visit them, pick up the truck, take off. I'm driving across Oregon and going to visit my mom in Northern California. And then I decide along the way to make the stop in the Marble Mountains Wilderness area, which I've been to before. I went there with my family as a kid and had been there previously on my own, solo backpacking, multi-day wilderness backpacking trips in 1998 and in 2012. So twice before on my own. I knew the general area quite well and what to expect, how to be prepared. I've done lots of backpacking with your own tent, food, all that kind of stuff. So I drive down to Northern California, drive out to the wilderness area. You have to turn off the main highway, which at that point you're really in the middle of nowhere. There's one tiny little town called Happy Camp that is north of that turnoff area where I turned, but it is a tiny, tiny town. And so I turn onto the Forest Service roads at that point and start driving out these gravel roads. It is just a maze of roads to get to the trailhead where I will park the car and get all packed up and start the hike alone into the wilderness. Okay, we are almost to Ohm Beach, so it's going to get a little bit busier here. Let me show you Ohm Beach. And here we go. Lovely Ohm Beach. So you can see the point sticking out there, skinny little peninsula, and so that makes part of the shape of the Ohm Beach. And then in the middle, you can even kind of see from here how it makes like a 3 shape, similar to the Ohm symbol, an Indian symbol representing peace. Ohm, like the meditative sound. Oh man, that water is looking so enticing. But I think that I want to finish this video first before getting all relaxed and jumping in the water there. So going to keep on walking along here and finish telling the part of the story that I'm telling in this video, which is only a fraction of the whole story. So I am driving out these gravel Forest Service roads, steep uphill, gaining all kinds of elevation, getting up into the mountains. It is a long drive, like maybe 45 minutes or something like that, because it is slow going, very windy, rough roads, having to stop and figure out where to turn, left, right, etc. So I'm getting quite close to the trailhead where I will park the car, and the car stops. I hear like this clunk noise somewhere under the car, and it just like the engine cuts out, and I hit the brakes and the engine will not restart. Trying over and over again, it is just like rah, 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 rah. No luck whatsoever. I am, of course, not just pissed off and frustrated, but freaked out. I have no cell phone service. I am way the heck out there. Hiking out of there will be a whole ordeal. My stuff in the car, I have more than just a backpack's worth of stuff there with me. The small town is a long ways away. And then how do I get my truck out of there? Is there even a mechanic in the little town? I have no idea. I am just suddenly thrust into this absolutely worst case scenario situation. And so I will mention here that one of the reasons for writing the book is that there's a lot that occurred that wasn't in the movie that I made. And so I wanted to tell the whole story, tell some of the wild and crazy details in a book, because I think that it is a pretty interesting story worth telling. I would absolutely love to see this made into a movie, like kind of Into the Wild-ish, but obviously, you know, it's not at that level as far as a survival situation, but it's just really weird series of events, twists and turns that I think would make a quite interesting actual like Hollywood kind of low budget, you know, basic like nature adventure type of movie or something. So that would be like the next dream for this story at some point in the future, but who the heck knows about that. So I get out of the truck and assess the situation. I'm on this road, one lane dirt road with a steep drop off on the left and a steep cliff on the right. If I can't move the truck out of there, then it is stuck blocking traffic for anyone trying to get up to the trailhead themselves, or if there's anybody at the trailhead, they're going to be trapped by my truck in the way. And so I look at the situation, and I basically just come over a little hump. The road is going uphill, and then there was just this tiny little bit of a hump that the truck cut out just as I kind of went over it and then hit the brakes. If I had gone any further down, it was like going down a little bit and then back up. If I had gone down any further down the little hill, then I would have been completely out of luck. I would have been stuck, the truck right there, no way that I was going to be moving it. But looking at the situation, I thought that I might be able to push the truck just barely up and over the little tiny bump that it was on, and then from there it was just a little ways back down the hill, and then there was a pullout on the left, a big wide pullout that was sloping upwards. Luckily, as you will see what happens in a second. So I get out and start like rocking the truck in order to push it up and over the little hump. That works. I jump in the truck as it starts rolling back down the hill, and then as it starts to back into the pullout, I'm turning the wheel, and then I go to slam the brakes, and nothing. It just goes straight to the floor. Obviously power brakes, which I've always thought and experienced in the past that power brakes without power means they're hard to press. But in this case, it was just nothing, no brakes. I hit the brakes, and luckily I coast to a stop because it was an uphill slant going up into that pullout. So things have worked out so far as well as they could. The truck is now off the road, out of the way. You know, e-brake works, and so it is parked there, not running. I keep trying, you know, to start it up, no luck. Okay, now what the hell am I going to do? And so I'm sitting there in the truck thinking all the various possible solutions, the possible outcomes of each possible solution. And so one of the options is that I hike out of there with minimal stuff, hope that another car comes along while I'm hiking and get a ride, but definitely not counting on that. It is late September, it is late in the season, and it is a little visited area anyways. There are just very, very few people going out there. And so I could, you know, hike out with just like a day pack like this, and if I have to hike the whole way, 10 miles down the hill, get to the road, hitchhike into the town of Happy Camp, and at that point, hope to heck there is a tow truck that can tow me to a mechanic who can fix me and get me out of there. But if there's no tow truck, if there's no mechanic, whatever, I might be in a situation in which I need to abandon the vehicle and just call it a loss, in which case I'm not going to want to have to come back up and get all of my stuff without a vehicle, having to do like the hitchhike and hike thing again to get back up there, and then do the hitchhike and hike thing again to get back out of there, and then hitchhike back, you know, to my mom's house many hours away. And so I'm thinking, basically, should I take my stuff or not? Trying to determine what makes the most sense. So I am overheating, so I'm going to finish telling the story here and then jump in that water. And then perhaps I will make another video on another day showing more of the area around here, maybe do the hike there to Half Moon and Paradise Beaches, maybe go back into town and show more of the town. I have made previous videos showing this area, but it is definitely a place to revisit and recapture for those who haven't seen it before. So I'm sitting there trying to decide what to do. And as I'm thinking and thinking, then I start thinking, you know what? This situation is going to be the same whether I deal with it now or in a few days. So while I'm all the way up here, then why don't I just go ahead, hike the rest of the way to the trailhead, start my hike into the wilderness, do my backpacking trip that I came there to do, and then deal with the situation afterwards, having accomplished my mission of getting some time in nature and then sort out this problem. So I decided to go ahead and do that. I get all packed up, lock up the truck, take off, start hiking, hike the mile or so up the road to the trailhead. It is empty, no other cars there, a parking lot, a sign with a map of the wilderness area, and then a trail going off into the wilderness. I look at the sign, I have the map, the same one that's on the sign there, and then just decide, okay, this is it, let's do it, let's hike into the wilderness and forget about this problem for a few days and then deal with it when I get back. So I start the walk along the trail, and within about 30 seconds, then I hear a noise. This just kind of low rumbling noise. I stop for a second, listening. It's getting just a little bit closer. I realize this is a vehicle coming up the road. And so I'm like, should I just keep on going? You know, probably they can't get me out of this situation, but you never know. While this possibility is presenting itself, no harm in just walking right back to the parking lot, you know, a minute away, and see if these guys might be able to help me out. So I walk back, and as I am walking back to the parking lot, the truck comes around the corner, comes up to the parking area. I walk up to them and I ask them, did you see that truck parked down on the side of the road right back there? And they say, yeah, I saw it. It's a truck with 3 guys in it, hunters. And so I asked them, do any of you guys know anything about auto mechanics? And the guy in the driver's seat says, yeah, my dad here next to me is an auto mechanic. And so I asked them, do you mind driving back down there and taking a look at this thing? And they say, sure. And so I say, okay, let's do it. Let's go for it. And maybe they can help me out, get this solved somehow. And then I do my backpacking trip with the situation dealt with. So if I had not heard that noise when I did, if I had been 5 minutes ahead of schedule and never heard the sound and started on hiking, then my life would be different. My life from that point onwards would have turned out quite a bit differently, basically because I wouldn't have had the money to go on the adventures that I went on next. When in November of 2016, I went to Iceland and then to Spain and Morocco and India. That whole adventure, it would have gotten delayed or something because I wouldn't have had the money to be able to afford to take off on an adventure. So that little stroke of luck changed my life in a whole bunch of ways. And so now, if you're curious to hear how I got out of that, why it was such a life-changing event, and how the story concludes, as well as the second story of another auto incident, then I will send you the book. Just send a donation on PayPal or Patreon, links below, email address below. I will send you the ebooks, not just this one, but the 4 other ones. And so lots of reading material, donation, whatever sounds like a good deal to you. So More coming from India at some point. See ya.